computer. Yeah, I'm not sure that this is directed against me or anything. It just might have been that I was using one of those tags that we're not supposed to be using. And because they don't allow us to edit this beforehand, when we go live, that tag is there every time now when I go to try to go live on that thing.
I think enough people just are not at YouTube. Like, I think that, like, I would have thought they would have sent people home with laptops and people could review these things. But I guess now it's just there's a lot of bots. So a robot doesn't seem to know the difference.
Yeah, but I mean, there might be a way where you can change your tags before you go live, but I don't know how to do that.
I guess I can look and see there is a way to do it, but it's a little bit more tricky now that they took away the old editor. With the new editor, it's a little bit more work, I
Well,
believe.
I can't get there. No, that's the issue.
Yeah.
I can't get there in advance of going live. Do you remember when I tried to set up so that there was everything was ready for Amber O'Hearn,
Mm-hmm.
and people were waiting there at that place I set up, but when I went live, it didn't go there. Do you remember?
Yeah, I didn't go there. I think I know exactly what could be happening now. I think that they've just made it impossible if you have less than 1,000 subscribers to actually live stream no matter what, unless you're using maybe StreamYard, which I haven't tried yet, or YouNow. And I tried YouNow, but there's a lot of problems with YouNow where it freezes up and it will cut things off. So that's not really a viable option either.
Okay, well, so anyway, we can discuss whatever we want to discuss. I personally really like that meme that I made.
Yeah, you did a really good job. I thought it was really cool. The painting was really good. She kind of almost reminds me, like, she looks kind of like a famous singer a little bit, but I know that's not her, but I kind of was like, oh yeah, she kind of looks like somebody I remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I like that.
Yeah, she is kind of based on that. That would be the person I would have play her in the movie if I ever got to make a movie of my book.
It would be perfect. And by the way, I think your portrait paintings has really evolved. Like, you're getting really good at doing portraits. Like, you always have been, but I see you've had a skill increase in your skill set. It's really it was pretty amazing. It's like, wow, she did pretty good on that, And what I love about it, Aya, is that it just goes to show we don't always have to paint the most beautiful person, because that painting was so amazing, but she might not have been a beautiful person. But I feel like that's why people kind of hated her, because she wasn't a beautiful person. But these do-gooders don't want to admit that they had prejudice against somebody who wasn't beautiful.
Yeah, that's absolutely it. And I was trying to explain, I'm glad you understand it. So I was trying to explain it to someone I was talking to the other day. I said, it's easy to paint a beautiful person. I mean, it's fun. I enjoy playing.
Yeah, of course. Yes, everybody does.
But it's harder to make a sympathetic painting of someone who is not beautiful. And I hope that's what I did. I hope it's a sympathetic painting where you can see it's a person, she has feelings, and no, she's not perfect in her appearance.
No, it's a very sympathetic painting. And another thing too that I feel like, okay, I don't want to come down on anybody. And I know everybody wants to have good intentions and good thoughts, but at the end of the day, I think people don't want to admit that, yes, they probably judge someone if somebody wasn't beautiful. And they've done studies that show if a beautiful person goes in to apply for a job with the same or less qualifications than a person that's not so beautiful, they're more likely to hire the more attractive person.
Yeah.
I mean, it's human nature, but I feel like people don't want to admit that. But I feel like the character in your book illustrates that very well, because if Bertha had been the most beautiful woman there, I don't think that would have happened to her, And she probably could have been taking sugar and nobody would have cared, literally doing it, and nobody would have cared, because you can get away with more by being a beautiful person than if you're a not so beautiful person. And that's true. And I feel like people don't want to admit that.
Right. Yeah, that is definitely true. So in this era of difficulty and people disagreeing with each other and all, here's what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say, everybody's got a different situation. And you can't know what the other person is going through, and you can't know why they're doing whatever it is they're doing. And if they're not taking anything away from you, just leave them alone. You don't have to like them, but you just be tolerant.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I think we're missing is that the people who talk about more tolerance, the people who scream for more tolerance are really actually doing some very intolerant things and things that they're saying about people. Like, I don't know. Like, what if I have just pointed out that maybe there's certain people that don't agree with a certain thing and they happen to not be a Trump supporter? I got deleted for just saying that there are a diversity of people that don't agree with certain policies. And I'm not supposed to say that, I guess. I have to quarantine my thoughts because if I don't say the exact thing that that person's posting on their wall, which I should know, if somebody's making a really strong statement like that, they don't want a different opinion there.
Right. And listen, I take the threat of ill health very seriously.
Of course, you do probably more than anybody I know. That's the thing that I think so funny is you're probably more worried about this than most people.
I have to be because number one, I'm not that young and I'm not that healthy. But number two, Bo is depending on me. And if he got sick, do you think that he could go to the hospital? No, there
No,
is no way.
no.
So I have to keep him healthy.
And you've always been like you were talking about this months before other people were, and you've been concerned about this. I guess my only take is, and people they disagree with me 100% is okay, if these people made a really bad choice or what you think is a really bad choice, they went to a gathering, a protest, which is still constitutional and illegal. It's not illegal. We still have a constitution. I don't know why all of a sudden people are saying that's illegal. It's not. You just don't like what they did. But if you're not going out and you're not with that group of people, they can't hurt you. You weren't there. They were there, not you.
Yeah, that was a kind of conversation, and I thought I was doing gently today. And let's not name names because that's not what I want to do. But
Oh no.
uh, somebody said, yeah, but if they go out and they get sick, it's going to affect me. And I said, but if you stay home, it can't affect you what they're doing. It's only if you go out. And then this person said, but sometimes I have to go out. Well, yes, sometimes we all have to go out. And
Yeah.
there is the problem, isn't it? I mean,
So the same thing could happen at the supermarket because I still see a lot of people at the supermarket. And to be honest with you, it's worse. You can't even just get what you need and go really fast anymore because you're looking for it longer. And because of the long lines, sometimes you have to stand outside. Or like if you don't drive, like someone like me, you can't order it on Instacart. You just can't order toilet paper. So you have to kind of think really strategically, like where it might be. And I don't want to go out today. I'm not going to go out today to look for it, but I should have. Like that's how bad it is now that if I really want more for later, that I should have got up early in the morning to go out. But I didn't want to do that today. I actually decided to stay home. Honestly, like if I'm not working, I am staying home. But I know that's the funny thing. I didn't want to go out and get it, but I needed it. But I'm not going to be able to get it now because since I work, I won't be able to get it when other people can go out and look for it. That's all.
yeah, yeah. Um, I'm looking forward to the fact that my state is supposed to be out of lockdown by May the 3rd or May the 4th. I mean, I think they said May the 3rd, but May the 4th is probably when it actually happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because I want to rush out and go to parties or
No,
the
you
beach.
don't even go to parties or anything like that.
I'll tell you why I want to do. I'm looking forward to that because right now I'm not going to the store at all, and I do have enough to last me until then. But what I like to do is I like to go to the store when there's nobody there. I've
Exactly.
always liked doing that, even before quarantine. But now there's always crowds at the store, and the hours are diminished. And I would like to get back to the 24-hour clock for a place like Walmart so I can go there when nobody else is there.
Exactly. Can I tell you what happened yesterday? Okay, I actually went to Walmart. I knew they probably wouldn't have toilet paper, but there were a couple other things I needed to get. And you're supposed to social distance in Walmart, right? Like,
Yeah.
but there were a lot of people there still, like a lot of people. So I didn't see where the line was, and somebody hit me with their shopping cart.
Oh
And I
no.
turned around and I said, you kind of hurt me. And I said, were you here first? They're like, yeah. And I said, you could have just said something. You didn't have to hurt someone. But they rammed their shopping cart.
That is evil. That's
Yeah, and that happened to me yesterday. And I was like, okay, well, I can't say anything because we're all social distancing, but they were wearing masks and gloves, and we have to all wear masks in the store. But they like, I don't see how that's social distancing to take your card and ram it into someone because I didn't see the
no,
line. So
it's
I got in the line.
yeah, it's battery. That's
Yeah.
actually
Yeah, but I can't really say anything. They didn't say anything. They were silent the whole time. They're just like, yeah, we were here first. So I got in the line behind them and I had to wait all of 1 minute. And I just didn't happen to see the new line. I didn't know that it had changed that much. Like now there's arrows and it says, don't go in this way, go in that way. And you have to like look more, but there's still a lot of people there. There's more than before. So it's really hard to self-isolate if you have to go look for something.
yeah. Yeah.
And I have these two problems that they don't care about anymore. I have to walk because I guess basically now in California, this is what's happened. All the people that can drive, I know they don't think this or they don't see it, but they kind of look down on us people that walk, okay? Because they're like, oh my God, somebody's outside. But this has literally happened to me where I've been straying at 2 occasions on why am I out? To get home from work, that's it. Or to go look for something, that's it. I'm not going out to socialize. I'm not even going out on walks like I used to because they don't really want us out. So I stopped doing that, okay? I'm just getting home from work or if I need something, and that's all. But I've been straying at on 2 occasions. And I don't even want to take public transit because I don't, given the situation. But I've been straying at. And everybody in their car is like, oh, well, we're in our cars. Like as long as and they keep saying things like, we're in our car, we're good. But I almost feel like, I know it's not personal, I guess, but I feel like people look down upon me because I don't drive.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
It's true. It's discrimination.
Yeah.
See, any situation that other people don't have, they're not in that situation, they can't put themselves in somebody else's shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, that's normal. That's how people are. And I'm not saying that I can foresee everybody else's problems, but at least I know other people have different situations.
Yeah,
So
of course.
I try not to judge people if they're not in my way, if they're not hurting me, they can do whatever they want to.
Yeah. So if I was out walking, it's because I still have to work and because I have to get home. And I know some people probably think, oh my God, like how horrible. I don't drive, so I can't get somewhere in 5 minutes flat. And you're not really recommended to take Uber or transportation anymore. So that's that in a hat. And nobody has to empathize with me, but I would like to not be straying at a couple times on the road. That'd be really nice. They were out too, but they scream at me. What is she doing out? I had to get home. I don't drive.
Yeah. It's really like that with chickens. I mentioned that before. Chickens will pluck a chicken who's just slightly different from them.
Mm-hmm.
They bully.
Mm-hmm.
And human beings are no better than that.
Yeah. And I'll explain why I don't drive because I'm not ashamed of it or anything. I just was a very anxious driver, and I knew back in the day it was safer if I wasn't driving because I'm kind of anxious when I get behind the wheel, which I still think is a good thing. So I always thought it was better for me to walk. And we know exercise is healthy, but now I'm like being made to feel like I don't know.
I know you had that blog, the pedestrian.
I thought about resurrecting it recently, but I don't know. I feel like it'd get a lot of hate or something because they don't drive.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you should just start making memes. I've stopped writing novels, but I'm going to make memes to sell the novels I've already written.
Mm-hmm.
You could make memes about your blog. You don't have to write a new one. You could even publish your blog as a book.
Maybe I could one day.
Yeah. I'm actually thinking about that for Historia Obscura too, because
I love Historia Obscura. Like, I really do want to contribute more to it. I just haven't because it's such a great site, and I don't want to write something that's not like well thought out.
yeah, but I was thinking that I might like to turn it into an essay collection and publish it on Amazon.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So you might, I see where you're going with that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are things there that could be useful to anybody who wants to learn about history, don't you?
Hmm. Most definitely. I definitely think so. You know, and speaking of history, I love like watching, and this is off subject, but just a show and like learning, like when they mention something, like researching it to find out, oh, why did the writers like mention that? And it turns out sometimes they might have fictionalized something, but there's another part that they get really correct. Like that show Magnificent Century is pretty amazing because they'll use the poetry that Suleiman the Magnificent wrote himself, or Rumi, which he loved to read, in a very beautiful context. And I just, especially the one where he read the poem, where this probably didn't happen. I'm sure Abraham Pasha didn't like get down on his knees and beg for forgiveness when he read the poem, but just it illustrated the friction that was leading up to the execution of Abraham Pasha in a very maybe slightly macabre, but also beautiful way. Like it was interesting. It kind of gave me a real large appreciation for Turkish cinema, something that I don't see in American cinema. I never see them take a poem or something like that and just use that to illustrate a historical friction or event. I just don't see that too often.
Yeah, let me tell you what I'm watching now. It's a little bit, it's not as highbrow as yours, but whenever I get a chance, uh, I tend to go for the lighter kind of romantic comedies from the East. So
Oh, I
this,
love those. Yeah.
yeah, I'm watching one from Korea this time, and no, I don't speak Korean, but it's still very interesting. And it's set in a publishing house in Korea.
Hmm.
And okay, I'm not going to tell you about the love story because the love story isn't really that, that's not the real thing to learn. But there are wonderful things about, yeah, that there are poets, and these poets are not published that much anymore because nobody wants to read them.
Aww.
And there was this one guy at the publishing house who was just fighting for this old poet, and the head of the publishing house finally said, "Oh, okay, fine. I'm going to let you use the company credit card to take him out to dinner, but we're not going to publish his book." Uh,
Gee.
and the guy went knocking on, I mean, he invited him to a restaurant, but the poet didn't show up. And then he went knocking on his door, and the landlady also went knocking on the door because he was late in his rent.
Mhm.
And another guy from the publishing house came, and it turned out that the poet had died, and he was in there, and he was dead. And but I mean, that's so realistic because I know of someone who I think died
It's
and what.
very realistic. Yeah, a writer recently, I think you told me about that.
Yeah, yeah. So even though, the romantic part, which always turns out okay for everybody in real life, romances like that don't turn out
No,
okay.
not usually. But I love those little stories. Like it's good to have like that's the escapism part of the story, but it sounds like there is a deeper component to the show actually, which is not all that different than Magnificent Century, which has some lowbrow stuff, but some highbrow stuff. Like it has a mix. And I think it just goes to show that like there can be more to a show than meets the eye sometimes.
Yeah, so that one is called Romance is a Bonus Book or something like that.
Oh,
I don't know
interesting.
what that
I
means,
like
but
that. Romance. Is it kind of like if you find it, it's just the bonus, like it might not happen, but if it does happen, it's fortuitous, something along those lines.
yeah, and there's something behind the whole thing, like the major plot, which I'm only now touching the tip of the iceberg of the major plot. But the
Mhm.
major, so there's this young woman and she has two potential lovers. One of them is an author and he's the co-owner of the publishing company. And the other one is an independent illustrator. And the publishing company is trying to woo this guy to do covers, to design covers for
Oh
the books.
wow.
Yeah, but the designer really hates that author guy who is part of the publishing company because he thinks he kidnapped a famous author and is holding him hostage somewhere because the publishing company, when they first started out, they published this really famous author. And after that, he never published again.
Wow. That's
And
funny.
so at first I thought, well, this guy is the illustrator is just kind of listening to conspiracy theories and stuff like
Mhm.
that. But then all of a sudden, our romance kind of plot petered out, and all of a sudden, this guy from the publishing company is called in, and apparently the author really is somewhere and is tied up. And
Oh my God.
I
That's
don't know.
funny.
It's just so I think it's not your usual plot, not exactly.
I kind of like it. Like I like eclectic or just different shows like that. But then I don't know, maybe a lot of Korean dramas have that mix of things. I'm not really that familiar with Korean dramas.
Yeah, I did start to watch a Korean drama, a historical drama, but then I stopped because it was just a little too much for me. But
Mm.
it was about a prince who went out and pretending to be an author. Again, it was about romance novels. I mean, but it was, yeah. I don't even remember that one too well, but it was basically that this prince was writing under a pseudonym, and
Hmm.
then he goes out to talk to the people to see what they thought about the books he wrote. And this woman tells him, "This is ridiculous. This book is terrible." And
Aw,
yeah, anyway, so
that's so,
apparently a lot of Korean stuff is about romance and how romance affects everybody's life, or the idea of romance.
yeah, the idea of romance, even if has a lighter component to it, it does seem like there's some deeper subplots that are more realistic. I kind of like that mix.
Yeah. So anyway, my thing right now is not to write novels, but to
Mhm.
push the memes about my novels.
That's a great idea. And I would like to start drawing again. I just haven't been motivated to do that. But I do actually eventually, I know I keep saying this, I want to finish reading the Harem Sultan book and read something about it. But one thing I've been doing right now that's just kind of fun is I thought I actually am enjoying like learning a few words in Turkish. And I
Uh-huh.
learned that, like, I know I'm not, it probably doesn't seem like I've picked up much, but Yazık, there is a word, Zasik. Yazık means pity. And there's something about Yazık, like when they say that, it's a pity, like just that they get that idea in one word that I really like. And they say that a lot. So I'm beginning to pick up a few words like that in the storyline. So that's one thing I've been doing is picking up a little bit of Turkish and Nklerim, which means the Lord, like the Sultan, His Majesty. So there's a few things I'm beginning to pick up a little bit more.
Oh, okay. We could have like once a month words that we picked up while we were watching videos or something like that from different languages. We could do that.
Definitely. And well, and the thing that I really like about this is okay, I took some Spanish classes in college, but I have the ability if I wanted to actually like really learn Spanish, I guess I could by watching shows, but I'm obsessed with learning about more about Turkey right now, which I think is so interesting. Like I'm drawn to that, but I'm not really like compelled to like force myself to learn Spanish, which I think is great if you want to learn Spanish, but I've always had the opportunity if I wanted to learn more Spanish that I could, but Turkish, like where am I going to speak Turkish? But now I'm like obsessed with learning more words from that because I like the show, which I think is interesting. It just goes to show that maybe we should follow our interests rather than what is always available to us. Like some people probably don't get that, but that's kind of my thinking.
Well, yeah, and if we ever got somebody who wanted to teach us Turkish, maybe both of us could take some lessons in it.
Yeah, I think so. But I also think what's really cool is that I think it would be interesting just if you maybe did a video just telling us a little bit about some basic Hebrew words. I think that would be interesting.
Okay, well,
If you have time, I know you're busy with all the things you're
yeah,
doing.
I can do that. I do occasionally give Hebrew lessons, and anybody who would like me to give a Hebrew lesson can send me a DM direct message through either Twitter or Instagram,
Hmm.
and we can talk about that.
I have to, that's another thing. I know I'm kind of jumping all around, but I think this is interconnected. I actually like the messaging platform on Instagram and Twitter better than I do on Facebook.
Uh, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, Facebook is something else completely.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. But I'm just saying, I feel like if you're doing something professionally, it seems like I, well, because I actually got some responses, like I never followed up on them, but from hair related content on those two platforms. But on Facebook, I never was asked to like, I decided not to follow through with sharing the headbands because they were about $7 a piece, and then you had to do a big video about them to promote it, and you had to buy them on Amazon. They said they would credit you back. It just seemed like very complicated, but at least I got some sort of feedback via those two platforms, whereas with Facebook I don't ever hear from any companies or anything.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Facebook is intended to use us as their guinea pigs. They want to sell us ads, but they don't really want to help us earn money. I'm afraid that's how it is.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the thing about Facebook, I just, the more I'm on it, like I don't feel as excited about, like I actually, if I was really like I when I get back into drawing more, I want to promote those things a little bit more on Instagram or Twitter, which I feel like I have more positive experiences on those platforms overall than Facebook.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. I'm not, I try to communicate with people on Facebook, but I'm not trying to make a sale there at all.
Oh no, and I don't think you could anyway. But I guess like with me, like everybody else, they seem, this is just my take on Facebook. They seem really comfortable like making really like strong opinions on Facebook and posting that. But I guess you're only supposed to comment on certain things if you share that really strong opinion with the people. But if you just kind of say, hey, I see this slightly differently, like you'll get deleted. And I haven't been deleted that much, but I got deleted twice in one day for just sharing like an opinion. So I guess I shouldn't have done that. But I kind of just, I see this all the time on my feed. So I just posted something because if this keeps coming up, I'm like, is this how people really feel? And do they not see the other side of something? So I just shared something showing a little bit of the other side, and they deleted me.
Yeah. Well, I shared that today is April 19th and it's the anniversary of the Mount Carmel Massacre. I share something about that every single year.
Of course, yes.
But some people don't know that, and they thought I was just talking about, the subject of what's going on today with regard to the quarantine.
Yeah, it's because they saw that and they only want to respond to that part of it. And I guess like the general consensus is that even though we might not want to, we might later have reservations about saying, okay, states should just make any kind of rule they want without an endpoint. Because here's the truth, Aya. They're saying in your state when it's going to end, right? They're saying like May 3rd. Here in California, the grapevine said maybe May 15th, but they've also been hinting for months that it might be until June something.
Well, here's what's really going to happen, I think.
Mm-hmm.
eventually everybody will be going back to work because our masters need us to do this. Otherwise,
Yeah.
they would go bankrupt too. But we're not going to have the same rights.
No, but nobody cares. But they basically said, like some people said, well, if you wanted to have rights, you're just a bad person. That's what they said. So I don't know.
Well, yeah, so this is why I think people should read Our Lady of Kaifeng.
Mhm.
And this is why I made my meme. Would it be okay if I tried to screen share? I don't know if you can do
Do you
that.
want me to screen share it, or do you want to do it?
Yeah, if you can screen share my latest meme, the one that Sword made the lettering for.
Yeah. I'm gonna get to that place. I just want to make sure I'm in the right exact place before I share it. Hmm. Okay, there we go. All right. So no, wrong one. I'm sorry. Wrong one. This one. Can you see it now?
No, I see a black screen and it says Julia Hanna has started screen sharing, but I don't, it's all
That's so
black.
strange. Okay, hold on. It's not listening to me. Let me try again. I don't know. It's never done that before, so I will go back. So anyway, Aya and her daughter have designed a really cool. Aya did the painting, and her daughter did the this design work. So I'm going to start again. Trying to make it bigger, but can you see it now?
Yes, I can. Yes.
I really like your portrait. It turned out really well, and I love the Sword is really good at picking out lettering that stands out in a meme. I think you guys did a good job on designing this.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that more people will want to share this meme who share our ideas. Obviously, if somebody doesn't agree that the fat lady did not steal our sugar, they're not going to share it. But
No, they're not going to share it, and they don't have to. Um,
right,
I was happy to share it because I have felt a little bit of like just questioning about. Well, I guess the thing that bothers me the most is we were always taught, especially people in the. Okay, I think I can talk about this if somebody's offended later. Maybe they should think about it. But years and years and years ago, I was a really strong Democrat, and I used to say similar things to what some of the people are saying right now because I would hear that on social media, and everybody would be talking about it, and it just feel right to me. So I would cleave to those feelings and those thoughts, and not really listen to other people. I feel like I can say that because I used to do that. Okay, about 12 years ago, like really hardcore. And I've had some reflection in my life that I'm able to listen to other people now because I remember the night that I was so excited that Barack Obama was elected, and I just posted something about it on Hub Pages, and that was actually my first interaction with you where you said something to me about why some people might not have been happy about him being elected. But I feel like back then I just was so draconian in my thought process that I couldn't acknowledge that there were other people that might have reservations about something. And it's like I didn't really listen to what you were saying in the beginning just because I was so stuck in that mindset. But as time went by, like I started listening to things you were saying. I'm like, she actually does have some good points. We might not agree on everything, but she has a point. And I'm just wondering, just to people that are, and I don't want to single anybody out, but just because I used to be a really strong Democrat and I used to kind of be stuck in that mindset, do you like, if you're a Democrat and you're on social media and you're just posting all the time about how some people in the other political party are doing something that you don't like, do you really believe in your heart and soul that they're bad people? Is that what you truly believe? I'm just curious. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
Well, I appreciate that you remember way back then, Julia, because a lot of people, once they change their mind about something, they don't remember that their mind was ever different, before. And it's good to remember that we didn't always know everything, and that we
Yes,
didn't.
I remember everything, but I acknowledge that, because if something made you change your mind, I
Yeah,
think it makes you, okay, it goes back to what we said about not judging your neighbor. I feel like when I was younger, I just wasn't like, I didn't understand like why people were conservative. I just didn't get it. Like, I didn't really get it. Like, I didn't have that empathy for them. And now people are saying, well, if they're like that, they're just bad people. They are just bad. But over time, as time went on, you're not even like you're a libertarian, but like just
yeah,
with conservative people, I would interact with them and they would actually be more decent to me in their comments to me online than fellow Democrats, who would be more likely to delete me or block me, even though we used to have similar thoughts on things. And I probably am more like left leaning on a lot of social issues, but those people would be more likely to delete me or block me than like a conservative person. Or I would have men that were the Democrat persuasion say just really vile things to me, whereas a conservative guy won't say those things on
yeah,
social media. Like, I had some men say something really nasty to me once because I didn't agree with the Young Turks video. Like, some Democrat men, they said some really sexually vile things to me. Okay. And it was a Republican guy that said, maybe like these guys aren't so nice. Like, maybe they're not so, and I'm not trying to stereotype, and a lot of people are going to say, oh, no, the Democratic Party, like, we're the most inclusive, we're the most thoughtful, but I think maybe you should stop judging your neighbor so much. And maybe, okay, you didn't have to go to any of those protests. Nobody had to go, but there were people that went to them, that organized them, that were not Republican or Trump supporters, there's an African-American politician I really like, Nicholas Wildster, who's very articulate, very well spoken. He was a candidate for governor in California. He didn't make it, of course. I think he might be on a city council now. I'm not sure about that. But he actually staged a protest of the lockdown, and he wasn't near anybody. There's a picture of him on his Facebook page just saying that he questions like the civil liberties aspect of it. He wasn't near anybody. He just had somebody take a picture of him with a sign. So I think it just goes to show not everybody that's questioning this falls into this stereotype, which everybody decided or got together to decide of being a Trump supporter.
yeah.
And that's all I want to say about that. But I'm going to be wrong again, because if I say that, 2 people deleted me for pointing that out.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's their right to delete us,
Oh,
but
they can delete me. That's fine. And I
yeah,
shouldn't have said anything, because I should have known, well, if somebody's saying that,
but
that's,
if you're watching this or if you're one of our friends, one thing you can do is just share the meme, share the ideas, um, spread the news that we don't have to judge somebody for being different.
mm-hmm. Yeah. And you've been very like subtle about it. Like, I think you've been very diplomatic, and you're actually doing what these other people are doing. You're not going out at all. So I would think they'd be listening to you. Like,
Yeah, well, I've been doing this isolating thing, I've been doing for 13 years, but I'm smart enough to know that the only reason I can do it is because most people are not doing it, and,
exactly.
we can't have everybody isolating.
Yeah, that's what they mentioned the other day. There are certain, okay, I know, like, ideally they want to have groceries delivered to your house, but that's really not ideal, because we tried that a couple times, and now I'm going to have to stop doing that because pretty much everything we wanted to get didn't show up, which gives me the conundrum of having to go out again. And I know people with cars couldn't give a whoop-de-doo about someone like me, and I don't want them to. I don't want them to feel sorry for me. I actually don't need that at all. Nobody has to feel sorry for me. But because I made the smart choice years ago not to drive, because I'm not a good driver, I'm a nervous driver, I would just like if people didn't scream at me or judge me because I have to walk somewhere to get something,
Yeah, and you're not alone, Julia. Lots of people don't drive.
Well, one of our friends, she doesn't either, and she totally gets it. She's very nice about it, but it's a couple of attitudes that when I was walking where people were screaming at me, but then at the end of the day, they were out too. So what were they screaming at me for? Like, were they not outside? They weren't inside their house when they screamed at me.
Well, everybody wants to be the only person out, but that's impossible. You know?
It's impossible. We can't all be the only person out. And then, okay, it would be great if we could all like take turns at the beach. I love that idea, but the reason some people go to public places because they feel like, well, okay, for your mental health, we always knew this and we always used to acknowledge is that a lot of people have a really hard time staying in all the time. They start to get what is called cabin fever. So they have to get out. They have to go outside. And they may have gone somewhere where other people were, and okay, like maybe more people were there than they liked, and maybe they should have left, but maybe they thought, oh well, we're here already, and then we would have to it's really hard to plan these things. We can't just make everything perfect all the time.
Look, we have acres and acres and acres and miles of public
Mhm.
land. And if public lands is, if public land is not for the public, then who is it for?
That's a good question. Okay, so people were trying to do that too. Like some people went up to the local mountains and they wanted to play in the snow. But I guess some people that lived in that one town, I'm not going to name the town, decided that, well, they shouldn't do that because they don't live in our town and that they were bad because they drove up there to go. But they were trying to get away from the city to go somewhere where there weren't a lot of people.
Yeah.
So they could go way out and just play in the snow. They weren't going to be near anybody. Okay.
Yeah. And it seems to me that the people who used to be in favor of public transportation and public parks and all of that, they're against all those things now. Doesn't it
Yeah,
seem like there's like a total turnaround about all those things?
which is so funny because like they always said, oh, conservative people are trying to take our park away, they're trying to take our public transportation away, but now like they're basically saying, and I just tried to point this out to someone, but it's thought crime, Maya. You can't have thought crime. You have to quarantine those thoughts deep in your mind. When you say, well, there are homeless people, they would benefit from maybe going to that national park as opposed to being on the streets. But you can't think that, Aya, because it's thought crime.
Yeah. Now, the funny thing about it is those people act as if the government were a person and public lands belong to that person called government. There is no person called government, and public lands are supposed to be for everybody.
Yes, I still love the Constitution. Some people
So,
don't love the Constitution anymore, and is that bad to still love the Constitution and what made our country beautiful? And people who came here, like in my great grandparents' generation, to have freedom, is that a bad thing now?
yeah, at this point, when I see, we came here for the freedom too.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't think there's more freedom here than any place else in the world right now.
No, there is definitely not. So we can't say that anymore. We can't say that. But they're
So,
not.
yeah,
Like one
so
time I had a post. I said, do you still love America and the Constitution? One lady that disagreed with me actually liked it, but very few people liked that post. They just didn't like it. Maybe they didn't see it. I don't know. I guess people just don't love our Constitution anymore. I don't want to be controversial, but that's kind of what I feel like.
yeah, I don't know what to say. I just want to say that I do mourn the people who fell at Mount Carmel in 1993. I have not forgotten them. And I feel that if we had been nicer to those people, then our situation now would be better too.
We were talking about that today, and I've talked about that with people I know. We were like, well, that was very troubling, but a lot of people, I guess they just didn't see the same news story. I don't know.
Huh. But on that note, I think we should probably wrap it up because I need to upload this so people can actually see it.
Sounds good.
Thanks for talking to me, Julia.
Yeah, it was good to hear from you. And I think the meme is very beautifully painted. And I love the justice and the empathy that you gave this character. So thank you for doing that, Aya.
Well, thank you, Julia, and hopefully it will spread.
Hope so. Have a nice day.
You too.